I want to start with an introduction to Roblox. I think a lot of people will be familiar with the name, certainly if we're kids, because okay, fair enough. All right. People moving out. Right. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, certainly with kids in the 7 to 13 age range, but most aren't going to be aware of the sheer scale or the ambition of what's happening. You just announced recently 90 million monthly active users,
yes.
which is incredible. So, can you talk a little bit about where Roblox is? And where we are at the moment.
Sure. So,
I think you're on.
Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
So Roblox is the largest UGC platform for kids and teens. As you mentioned, we recently announced 90 million monthly active users. We also have a community of developers, of creators, of around 2 million folks that every month come to the platform and create experiences for us.
Yeah.
Everything on Roblox is created by our community, so everything is UGC. Just for context, we typically talk about the size of the platform as a whole, but we actually have several games on the platform made by our community that have more than 10 million monthly active users. So if you think about that scale, if you think about how hard it is to scale a game to even a fraction of that.
Yeah, no, 10 million is incredible.
Right.
So how many games are you in that sort of scale?
I would say this. I can't really give you specific numbers, but if you think about a major mega publisher and how many games of that scale they have, we have many, many more than that.
Okay, fair enough. That's very specific. Can you talk a little bit about your specific role and focus of the company? Because you've had quite a illustrious career. You've been working previously at Activision with AAA franchises, and so it seems like quite a change. What attracted you to join Roblox, and what's your
So at Roblox, I see myself having two major goals that are interconnected. The first one is to make sure that the number of experiences that are engaging on the platform, the diversity of these experiences is always like top notch. We really want Roblox to be as sticky and engaging as we possibly can.
Yeah.
The second goal is I want to make sure that the developers of Roblox are successful. And obviously these two goals are interconnected because the more successful developers are, the more they make better experiences, the more users we get. It's a virtuous circle.
Yeah.
Essentially what I do in essence is I run all the teams at Roblox that touch games in any shape or form. So going from our studio team, our tools team, our engine team, our services team, our avatar team. Avatar is this digital 3D identity that cuts across all of our experiences. Game experience, which essentially is all the UI and the basic setups in all of our games. Catalog, which essentially is the marketplace where you can buy cosmetic items for your avatar. So it's a very large team with a very, very large scope.
Okay, well, it's a lot of different things. I'm talking of a large scope. Roblox are tackling a pretty ambitious combination of tasks. On one hand, you're creating a game engine for creators, which is quite hard in itself. You're also running a distribution platform, and a social network for a young audience, which is tough. So, how on earth do you manage that? They're all three difficult things in themselves.
Well, I usually joke that Roblox is maybe like 5 to 10 companies in one.
Yeah.
We also run our own private cloud. So we
didn't have that on my list. So that's good. Fair enough.
We also have our own avatar system. There are companies that only do avatars out there, so we have that, and we probably have the largest catalog for avatar cosmetics that I can think of.
Wow.
We have an engine, as you mentioned, tools to build on top of the engine, all our services, including analytics and matchmaking. So it's just the scope of the company is truly staggering. Interestingly enough, we really run a very decentralized model.
Yeah.
We really believe in personal accountability, and all the product leaders of the company are the CEOs of their own area.
Yeah.
And so the way we run this is to set with the rest of the executive staff high-level goals for the year. Every 6 to 12 months, we basically reset those goals.
Yeah.
And then we make sure that our teams are empowered to pursue those goals, and they self-organize and they coordinate with other teams. But we really run it very, very decentralized, in a very decentralized ways, which in a way is how we actually run Roblox as a whole.
Yeah.
We believe in empowering developers, empowering creators.
Yeah, because you're not making games yourself, right? You just enable the game.
Nothing on the platform we make, with the exception of our avatar content, and not all of it.
Yeah. I talk about social networks a little bit more. Obviously, safety is an issue in social networks, security is an issue in social networks, especially with the audience you have, doubly so. Can you talk a little bit how you kind of manage the community and deal with any toxicity or bad access? Because it's quite a, you've got a big responsibility.
Yeah, so civility and safety is really part of the DNA of the company. It's always been like when Dave, our CEO and founder, started the company more than 10 years ago, that was one of the core principles he built the company around. So it was true back then, it's very, very true right now, especially with the scale that we have achieved. And so the way we do it, we actually have a bunch of different, we tackled the problem in a bunch of different ways. First of all, every single piece of content that you see in any game could be like a mesh, a texture, an image, a sound, is hand moderated by a team of more than 800 humans that work around the clock across geographies in multiple languages. So everything you see is being seen and approved by a person.
So that's quite a big team of moderators.
Yes. Second, we actually use machine learning and AI to monitor everything that is said on the platform. And we, if you are under 12 or under, we are actually apply very, very strict filters on what people say. So, for example, people cannot exchange numbers, phone numbers, addresses. That is strictly moderated out. We also give our community tools to report, and once somebody's reported, the case is hand reviewed. People can be banned forever or temporarily, and we have also extensive parental controls.
And you just manage all of that for all the creators that you're just.
Correct. So the creators don't have to worry about anything. This is all like a turnkey solution. So they make the game. That's all they have to worry about. Everything else is taken care of for them.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the audience, because I think the conception historically, and maybe one of the reasons that Roblox has kind of flown a little bit under the radar, I think, is in the scale you're at, was that it was for a kind of a tween and maybe young teen audience. But from kind of conversations with yourself and some of the other C-level people, it feels very much like that audience is broadening every year. You're getting older and all.
Yeah, I don't think we get enough credit for how diverse our audience is. So it's true that when we started, again, more than 10 years ago, we mostly attracted younger users. But obviously, a lot of these users have stayed with us and they've grown with the platform. So right now, more than 30% of our users are 17 years old or older. So if you do the math with the size of scale with the scale that we have.
And you're seeing that every year increasing? Are you going to think that's going to? Is there a limit to how?
I don't think so, because what's happening is users are becoming creators. That's typically the pipeline that we see. And so creators are building small games first, and then big games next, and then now they're creating teams and studios, and the content they're creating is actually more and more aged up. So I believe that over time we're going to see, driven by our content, more aged up users to come to the platform, and also more people sticking to the platform because they actually can find the content that they can enjoy.
Just one final question about the audience. I guess where you've made a big push recently to push out beyond North America, which is sort of the heartline, to localize into different territories, and that maybe talk a little bit about how that's gone, but also from a platform perspective, where are these players? Because these 90 million active users is a lot. Like, are they mobile players? Are they PC? What's the split between mobile and PC, and where roughly in the world is your biggest audience?
So let me take the
lots of questions.
The international question first. So we truly believe in a global audience. So our mission is to unify the world through play. So that is really what we're doing, and so being international, being global is a priority for us. So right now, 50% of our audience is in North America, so we're already quite spread out when it comes to geographies. And one thing that is very interesting for us is that we're actually seeing countries that we do not explicitly serve, so we're not localized in local languages, and these are countries that don't necessarily speak English as their first language. They're actually embracing Roblox, and they're creating communities, in some cases in the order of millions of people, playing our product, not in their native language, and in some cases, we don't have servers in the country, so the quality of the experience is not as good as if we were like in countries that.
But presumably, if you get enough people there, then you do have a server in the country.
Yeah, of course. So that goes to my next point, which is this has happened organically and really shows the power of a global community. But at the same time, we're proactively, expanding internationally. And we do that in a few different ways. We're localizing a lot of our content and a lot of our tools in the platform. We're actually partnering with a lot of local influencers to make sure that they talk about Roblox in a way that is compelling and relevant.
Yeah, there was a lot of influencers here. I was at an influencer drinks of the night.
And then, but most importantly, is the fact that we connect with local developer communities, because at the end of the day, they know what content works best. So these are the three ways we tackle that problem.
So that's what I'm going to go on to now in terms of who's kind of creating content, because there's two sides to it. There's obviously, and there's obviously the internet, but on one hand you've got the actual players themselves that they're evolving into creators.
Right.
So and some of these players, these creators are getting 10 million users. It's incredible.
Right.
So what's the split? What's the kind of split? What sort of percentage of the players or active creators? How many people are actively creating stuff at the moment?
So, if you do the ratio, it's 90 million monthly active users, and around 2 million
2
monthly.
million,
yeah,
right,
so
okay,
it's
so
around
2 million, yeah.
I don't know the math right now.
And of those, again, obviously that's tiered. There'll be people that are just making games for their friends, and then at the top end there's these 10 million users.
Yeah, 10 million plus. Yeah, so it's actually interesting because we are very much a long-tail platform, and our long tail is actually pretty fat.
Yeah.
So
fat tail, it's a new thing.
Fat tail.
You've just coined a new word here, which is fantastic.
We, you can see games that are not necessarily in the top 10, 50 that still have, hundreds of thousands of users.
Yeah.
And the reason is, we actually encourage discovery on our platform. The community is very, very active. So the moment you are a game on Roblox, the community starts talking about you, and you actually organically get a ton of views and a ton of users.
Yeah.
Then it's obviously up to you to retain those users. But as far as a platform, I've never seen a platform that serves as many users as we do. And actually, I have looked at the number recently because there was a question internally how good our discovery is. And I looked at, game number 100, which on any platform would be like a non-entity.
Yeah.
And on our platform is, very, very big as far as users are concerned. So
I want to kind of segue on from that. I think we've established Roblox is big, diverse, it's very ambitious, very successful, maybe doesn't get the credit it deserves. But from a developer perspective, that strikes me as something that should be interesting. So you've kind of got, obviously, now you've got development studios that are being formed from young people. Right. But presumably, is there any reason why you can't have developers coming into Roblox from the outside without having to, without being kids necessarily, but indie studios or professional studios creating games on the platform? Are you seeing that happen?
There's really no reason why that should not happen. Like, we are not, we're very, we're a platform that believes in individual initiatives, so we are not pushing any specific agenda. We want developers to come and experience why Roblox is different. And as you mentioned, our developers know that what they can get from the platform, which is why they're actually investing their own money or their own earnings, I guess, to build bigger studios. If I was a developer or a small studio, I would absolutely look at Roblox as an option for a few reasons. First of all, again, our audience is huge, and scaling a game on Roblox, a multiplayer, 3D multiplayer game, is essentially free. You don't have to think about creating all the services. You don't need back-end engineers to do it. You don't need to pay AWS to do it. And even if you build your infrastructure, scaling a game from 1 to 100 users is easy, but from 100 to 1 million and from 1 million to 10 million is actually really hard.
Yeah.
There are entire companies that only do that. And what we do is to basically tell our developers, don't worry about just make the game, and if your game is successful and in a week has 20 million users, you're fine. Your game is going to run, everything's going to be great. Okay. So for that reason, and again, the scenarios where you can get all these users are not uncommon. It's not like in theory you could get. There are plenty of games that do that. We offer tools, and all our games are natively multi-platform, so you make the game once, you press a button, well, 3 buttons, depending what platform you want to be in.
Right. 3 buttons, sounds quite complicated.
3 or 4, and the game is everywhere. And it works cross-platform beautifully, you don't have to worry about it. If you want to publish globally, you press a button, you're everywhere. So it really makes it very easy for anybody to scale and make 3D multiplayer experiences, which again, a lot of indies don't do because it's complicated, it's expensive, there's a lot of money up front, and if your game doesn't make enough money, you're basically at a loss. In our case, that doesn't exist.
So how would you, from a creative perspective, obviously, a lot of developers use to Unity or Unreal or various other kind of engines. How does the creative tools kind of compare? If you're a Unity developer, you're going to be able to come in. Is it it's for kids. That sounds like really patronising, but presumably if 7 or 8 year olds can do it, then like a developer can pick it up relatively quickly, I'd have thought.
Yeah, I wouldn't say our tools are for kids.
Yeah.
I would say
Sorry, I didn't mean to be patronising about that, but you have traditionally kids are making games on your platform, right? So.
Yeah, well, I mean, our developers, kids and teens are playing games. Yeah. Our developers are actually, they can be, late teens, but they're also in their 20s and 30s. So it's not just, young developers that make the game. I would say that our tools are different in the sense that Roblox architecturally is a different beast from anything else that is out there in the marketplace. So we run on a streaming architecture, whereas most of the other games, basically you create an executable that you run.
Yeah.
So the big difference is that the way we stream is not video streaming. So we basically stream assets. So think about it this way. Every time anybody launches a game, all the scripts, textures, and meshes are streamed into the client.
Yeah.
So that gives us two advantages. The first one is you're still playing a client-based game. So all the concerns about video streaming games where things that might be laggy, we don't have that because the game is actually running on the client. Yeah. At the same time, we have all the benefits of a streaming architecture, which is, again, multi-platform, cross-platform play, and also the fact that join times are very quick. So that architecture is reflected in the way you build games. So the tools and the technology that you use to build a game reflects that. So there are differences. If you're a Unity developer or a Unreal developer, you need to understand how our technology works.
Yeah. And it's not just porting straight one.
You cannot just drag and drop. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. At the same time, again, it's something that people do. It's not the big of a deal at the end of the day. You need to know how to code. We're not just like a drag and drop type. Although you can actually create drag and drop experiences, you can publish them, multi-platform, global, all of that. But if you want to build a real game, you need to know how to code, and you need to have engineers or people that know how to script.
Okay. Yeah. To close out for my questions, I might open one for the audience. This talk was a little bit talking about the industry as well, and obviously, from stepping back a bit from pure Roblox perspective, it feels like there's a lot of companies looking to disrupt the market right now. There's obviously Google Stadia announced. There's a lot of other people working on the idea of Netflix for games and subscription services. Do you see that's where would you be placing your bets now? Where do you see as the big? I mean, Roblox is obviously part of that disruption. It's a different.
Yeah. So when I obviously there's a lot of announcements and a lot of competition going on right now. The question that I have is what is competition is doing for the end user? So what experiences are all these platforms delivering to the end users that are different from what these users already have access to? And I don't really have a great answer to that. Like at the end of the day, this to me seems like a lot of business competition. They're competing on exclusives. They're paying a lot of money for them. They are competing on how much money they give back to the developer community. But the experiences are the same. Yeah. And so that's why I'm not sure that all this competition is actually a good thing for the end user. I mean, if at the end of the day, the end scenario is, or the end, what this is going to become is a bunch of platforms. Each platform will have, their own content because they bought it and they want their own unique content to attract users to play on that platform. And each platform is going to charge a subscription. As an end user, if I want to play everything, I will have to buy, 5 subscriptions, which doesn't feel like a great.
I know people are doing that at the moment with the TV, though, a little bit. But
I don't disagree, but at the same time, is that good?
Is that going to last for very long? I don't know.
Because today I don't have to. Right? Today I can go on any platform and I have access to most of the content. Whereas tomorrow you're forcing me to pay a subscription to access your content, but then I also want other people's content. So I either stop playing or I have to pay more. Okay. So my point is, I'm not really seeing a lot of interesting innovation as far as the end user experience is concerned. I'm just seeing a lot of business competition and money competition.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. I know you're up next, Kate. Is there any question for Roblox, the 90 million user? Here we go. There's a question for the front here.
So you speak about sort of the user's experience rather than sort of the business monetization aspect of it. What is Roblox's monetization model?
That was in my questions I didn't ask. Good question. You should be up here. I haven't got to
So we do not mandate any particular monetization. So our developers can build, the same way you build any game. You can make a premium game. You could build a free-to-play game with microtransactions. You can structure microtransactions any way you want. It's up to the developers to do whatever they want.
But they have your own in-house currency, right? So in
Yeah. So I mean, the way the monetization works is when you build a game and you price everything in Robux, which is our platform currency. Essentially, users buy Robux from us, and then they spend them in the game. And you essentially, as a developer, you accumulate a balance of Robux, and at some point, you can convert it back into money whenever you want. You can cash out.
And just related to that, because you might ask, I'm going to ask me, so what sort of money can you make? 1 minute.
So last year, we distributed around $70 million to our developers. It really depends on how your game monetizes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
But you can be making millions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
With this game here. These aren't like small revenues.
And again, these are small teams. In many cases, one person makes like $10 million in a year.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be back coding on that after this. So there we go. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time. It's a really quick speed panel. We'll be much more about this on our site, and you'll be around to talk to people. So if you're a developer interested in Roblox, check them out.